In this exercise, we'll practice what we learned about working with data in Spotfire by describing the steps to importing an Excel file in Spotfire, describing a Trellis grid, defining a scatterplot relationship, defining a hierarchical relationship, and by describing how to enhance the user's experience using graphical tables. Now pause the video and perform the exercise, and when you come back, we'll go over these step by step. Okay, so to get started, we're going to describe the steps to importing an Excel file in Spotfire. Well, this should be quite simple. You can select File here, and you can also click Open as well. So what we'll do is we'll just select File, and we'll click on Add Data Tables here, and we'll add a data table by clicking the down arrow here. We'll select a file, and we'll select this file and click on Open. And that's exactly how you open an Excel file in Spotfire. So you can see here in the Excel import dialog, you have the data, and you can specify which columns you want to include, which rows you want to include, and so on. And then you click on OK, and then your data is imported. Okay, next, describe a trellis grid. Well, you should know that trellising describes a technique where you divide a series of visualizations into separate individual panels. And you use this when you want to subdivide your analysis. So in this case, we have a number of plots, and we're subdividing them, sales versus salary, by territory. So there's Asia, there's Europe, and there's US. So again, trellising just describes the technique where you divide a series of visualizations into individual patterns, right? Okay, and scatter plot. Well, scatter plots are typically used to show how much one variable is affected by another variable. The relationship between the variables is referred to as the correlation. And in this case, we're plotting sales versus salary. And is there any relationship? Well, you can see that for the most part, it looks like a pretty linear relationship. I mean, you could draw a straight line through that area right there, and you could see a relationship. And, you know, the higher the salary here, the more sales. Really, as the salary goes higher, you see that sales typically goes higher. And as the salary is lower, well, sales are not all that great, are they? There is one outlier here, and that's one of the other beautiful things about scatter plots, is that you can note trends, but you can also see outliers in the data. So, for example, here, the salary is not that great. It's around, median, but this is one of the best sales performers. Okay, so now let's look at hierarchical relationships. Hierarchical relationships are relationships that you can visualize using a tree map. Now, what this means, for example, here, in our hierarchical relationship here, what we're doing is we're creating a tree map based on the territory, then the office, and then the first name. And what we've done here is we've colored our squares by the salary, and we've sized it by sales. Okay, so you see here that under US, and if we wanted to drill down here, of course, we can just click on that. And we can see here that under the Canada office, we've got Joe and Zach making some sales. Obviously, Joe's are higher than Zach's and Cody's. And under the US office, you'll see here that Cody's the only one that's doing sales in the US office at this point. So you should understand then that a hierarchical relationship rates the values by color and the size of these nested rectangles. And this is the tree map, and it's used for displaying data that we can structure hierarchically like we've done here. And when we do this, we're basically in turn subdividing into smaller rectangles representing sub-branches. Okay, so now let's talk about graphical tables. Okay, so graphical tables can be used to enhance a user's experience by virtue of the fact that what you're doing is you're inserting small informative graphics into what would normally be a plain table graphic. So alongside these names here, basically you've got spark lines, which are simply just miniature line charts. And then we've got calculated values, which are calculated values. Icons, which are based on some sales value threshold here in this case. And then the bullet graph, which is really basically a plot of performance versus salary in this case, sales versus salary. So you can see the sum of sales is the light green horizontal bar, and the vertical bar, well, that's salary. So you can see that this person's sales far outweighs their salary. Okay? So that's what bullet graphs are excellent for. And in fact, by employing each of these elements within a table, we can provide a lot more emphasis on certain values. We can see trends or see certain values at a glance. So, for example, here we can see that our icons represent. So here we can see in our icon element, we have got a icon, which is the down yellow triangle, and its definition you can see in the pop-up is icon less than 1 million. So that means that the sales is less than 1 million. And in the next case, greater than or equal to 1 million, and that's the up triangle. And the red pentagon is less than 400,000 in sales. And you can see also what we've done is we've defined the calculated values, and we've specified that the top 3 values be in green font. And again, there's our spark lines, which are basically just miniature line charts of sales over time. Okay, so in this exercise, we practiced what we learned about working with data in Spotfire.